All right, troops, welcome to the Action Leap. My name is Owen. So we've got an interesting show tonight, and I don't think I've seen too many people discuss this before, but we're going to be taking a look at Pierce Brosnan's final James Bond film, Die Another Day, which is very much maligned, and generally Ethan hasn't gathered much of a cult following these days, but we're going to just discuss tonight if it's really as bad as people say. But before we do that, I'm going to bring in the team, starting off with Stephen.
Hey.
Hello. How are you?
Living the dream. How about you?
No, much the same. Just surviving, Mr. Chang.
Exactly.
And welcome, J-Man.
Hey.
All right. And we got Sean.
Hey.
Hello. All right. Next up, we got John from Action Flicks. All right.
Hello.
And last, and definitely least, Charlie.
Already?
Yeah, we're not wasting any time. We're just going straight into the
jump
review.
right to it. Totally. It's fine. I'll sit in my little corner over here. I'm okay.
You're the bottom left corner of Hollywood Squares there.
I know, right? I'm in the worst possible square right now. It's terrible. Thanks, Adam. I appreciate you, brother. He says, ouch.
The day next to
listen, you're the foundation, Charlie. You're holding everything up. So.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. We love you, really, Charlie. We're just busting your ass. So,
wait, who was that woman that you didn't like last week? Oh, yes, thank you. Okay.
Damn, he was fast. Did you guys?
You want to know something? All I did on social media this past week was just, I don't know if this was on purpose, but like she just appeared everywhere and I just left every single time. I'm like, they're chasing it. I'm like,
it's J-Man just posting it everywhere.
Yes, I have 4,000 different names.
He must humiliate Charlie at every opportunity.
Alone, I had a thing today at office. Somebody was saying they were comparing Roscoe to Dixon. And then there was a couple of Dixon naysayers, so I had to pull this one. I was like, really?
Hold on a minute.
Right.
You're not alone, Charlie.
We're growing in numbers.
You have a family.
Yeah, the dumbest club ever. If you want to join.
Hashtag stand with Roscoe. That's what we do over here. That's it.
Hey, listen, she showed herself naked, so she wins by fault.
Well, Dixon didn't have to. That's how.
Okay. All right. She had a lot of pent-up frustration.
Check out last week's stream for the backstory of this. We're gonna do the Stan Lee thing for what they're referring to last week's.
Yeah, bottom left corner, or bottom right corner.
Yeah, bottom corner.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so tonight we're going to be talking about Die Another Day, which is Pierce Brosnan's last turn as James Bond. And I remember it was okay at the box office at the time. I think it made something like 600 million or 500. I don't know. J-Man, check the box office.
Let's check the box office.
Don't make a liar of me.
That's a Sean thing, but let's see. Die Another Day.
Box office, yeah.
Sean is always checking stuff out to fact check us or whatever. Like, oh, Man of Steel came out 1 month before you said.
Oh yeah, I mean, like last week, I was a guest on That Fat Samurai Guy's stream, and we were doing a live reaction to the Roadhouse trailer.
Yes. Oh gosh.
And he was saying that we were getting like a ton of abuse from people and everything, and I was like, really? And I went on to the comments, and I was like, I don't actually see any abuse at all. There was like people maybe disagreeing, but it was discourse, and I have no problem with that. People weren't saying, I hope you die for commenting on this or whatever. Yeah. If people are saying, oh, should I disagree with it? I'm like, all right, cool, no worries.
The budget was 140. Sorry, the budget was 140. It made 439. 439.
Yeah. So it wasn't huge. But it was all right. But yeah, I remember when it first came out, I have to be honest, I hated it when it came out. I was like, what the fuck is this? But has my opinion changed? We'll find out later. So I'm going to stand back. I'm just going to host, and I'm going to say whoever else is going to speak. So first of all, I'm going to put it on to Stephen, because I know you've been wanting to do this stream for a while. So you have the con, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. So I saw this movie when it came out. I walked through a blizzard to see this movie. That is, what joke about, hey, I walked through, 10 feet of snow, buck naked. Thank you. Buck naked to go see, to go to school, which was 10 miles away. I didn't do all that, but I did walk through a blizzard to go see this movie in the theater.
I went naked to school.
It came out in 2002. And when I first saw it, I thought it was terrific. I thought it was one of the best Bonds I saw. It's definitely the best Brosnan and one of the best Bonds. And I've seen it since then, and I'm like, yeah, it's still good. I saw it in preparation again for this stream, and I'm starting to notice the warts a bit more than I used to. I know CGI is really bad in spots, like really bad. Like when Jinx jumps off the cliff.
Yeah, the diving scene. Yeah,
it looks, like PlayStation 1 bad, sort of.
Tomb Raider.
Yeah, it's Air Force One, the plane crash bad. Mm-hmm. It's pretty awful. The fact is that this movie is far too long, 2 hours and 13 minutes. I'm kind of like, oh God, this movie needs to be 100 minutes because the plot is all over the place. Like, I sort of get it, but then it's like you're really hoping that I know North Korea is bad, and I always get the two Koreas mixed up. I'm like, where's the lunatic again? North Korea or South Korea? I can never remember.
I'll put you in charge of nuclear weapons then.
Section.
Is everything okay with the aliens at Planet 10, or should we just go ahead and destroy Russia? Tell them yes on one, no on two.
And you have to know that North Korea would want to blow up South Korea. You have to just innately know that because the movie does not tell you that. You have to know this. I do like the fact that it harkens back to a lot of Bonds. They have the Thunderball, they got the jetpack, and a lot of it's like, when it starts out, a lot of it is like Dr. No. He's sort of like, we don't trust you anymore, and he has to go do his own thing. So I thought that was good. So do I think it deserves the hate? I don't think it deserves the hate. I don't know people who would hate this movie. It's fun. It's got its warts. It's too long, but hate is something like No Time to Die, which Jeff just was so determined to drill the James Bond character into the ground and literally kill him. That deserves hate. Something like Die Another Day is just middle of the road fun. It's got some cool scenes. It's got some action. It's got everything we bitch about that Bond doesn't have anymore, right? It's got cool gadgets, all that stuff. So I think it's just middle of the road Bond. It's all right. It's, as J-Man would say, it's fine, and that's it.
Fair enough. Yeah. I love the first half of this movie. I think the first half is like classic Bond. You got like that opening scene with the hovercraft chase and everything. I was like, oh, this is great. And there are some great practical action scenes. I love all that. There's actually some good fight scenes. I like the sword fights and everything. I particularly love the sword fight whenever Bond first meets Gustav Graves with Madonna being there and the really lame cameo. But anyway, but I love that whole sword fight because there's such passion behind it. Like they just like hate each other, and they're sort of like, oh, where's all this aggression coming from? Of course, we find out later on. But I like that, and yeah. The CG for me is the thing for me. The parasurfing scene is terrible. But the interesting thing was when I was watching it the other day, I was like, it's up there with modern MCU movies in terms of visual effects, to be honest. They're equally it's terrible, the Phase 4 ones. But yeah, to me, the weakest spot of this movie, apart from the visual effects, and I hate to say this because I normally love him, but John Cleese is a terrible Q. Like, even in the last movie, whenever they bring him in, and he's supposed to be sort of funny, but he's not, and he's just sort of really lame, and I think it's really more just a problem of the script. Like the script is quite clunky in parts and whatever, but I do love that Bond actually still flirts and has sex with women and stuff like that. Halle Berry's smoking hot, so you got all that, and she is kind of exactly how to do a Bond girl, where she's like looks amazing but also can kick ass and everything. And remember, we were going to get the Jinx spin-off at some point.
Yeah.
And then they just cancelled it. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate the movie. It's my least favorite of the Pierce Brosnan movies, but it's still fun. I love them all because of the Bond movie, and I'll watch it before I'll watch No Time to Die ever again. That's for sure. Because at least he doesn't die in the end. Spoiler alert. But and that's all I'm going to say about it. So I'm going to move back to you guys. So Sean, what are your thoughts on it?
I saw it when it came out. I liked it. I didn't know that it was like one of the most hated Bond movies. I always thought, because like usually the most hated Bond movies are on most people's lists are View to a Kill. I'm going off the top of my head here. Octopussy, like movies that I still like a lot. Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah.
Man with the Golden Gun is cool. It's just a little draggy at times, but it's still good. And this movie, I remember at the time people complained about the Pierce Brosnan Bond movies as just being the same thing over and over again. But they were doing the Bond formula, and they were doing the Roger Moore movies basically, like a consistent cast and like all the different things, like cool henchmen and a bad guy that has a crazy plot and a crazy headquarters like this one's made of ice. And all that. I think that the problem with this movie is it does all those things, but it doesn't stand out. It's like Mr. Kill and Zhao or whatever his name is. He's got like diamonds on his face. He doesn't do anything with them. He doesn't like cut you or something. Mr. Kill tries to kill you with his afro pick. It's not. It doesn't really stand out. It's not Jaws, but it's cool and comforting to see those Bond elements in there, especially now. Because after this, I think the problem with this movie too, it's the movie that changed the Bond franchise, in that after this movie, Barbara Broccoli or whoever was like, okay, we got to move away from all this. And they moved away from it. And I'm not a fan of any of the Daniel Craig movies at all. Like, I don't like, I'll just put everyone on notice. I hate those movies. They're not Bond, and they're not even replacing it with anything cool. So I think in some ways this is a kind of a franchise breaker, but it's not its fault. But I think it's a cool movie. It's got a rocket car. It's got a chameleon car. It's cool. It's not the greatest. It's not the worst. It's definitely not the worst. But it shouldn't be like the worst Bond movie. There's no way.
It's funny. I remember whenever it first came out, everyone was complaining about the invisible car, and then I was like, "Yeah, isn't that tech like used now? Is this like the mirror camouflage thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, anything that seems sort of outrageous from back then, you're like, yeah, we have that now." So and that's the thing. And this movie is like probably the most outrageous Bond film. It's like this is like Brosnan's Moonraker, but I fucking love Moonraker. It's like top 5 Bond. I love that movie, and I'm like, the more outrageous Bond is, the more I like it. I'm not interested in it being gritty. I'm interested in it being more of escapist nonsense. That's what I want. I'm not interested in him trying to be Jason Bourne, which I tried to do with some of the Daniel Craig movies, but Timothy Dalton did it first and better. But anyway, Charlie.
Neat. So this one, I don't think I had watched for almost like 15 years or more, probably only a few times after it came out. So watched it last night, and like you, Owen, that opening to this movie, I was in, man. I was like, I don't remember any of this. This is badass. Hovercrafts everywhere. They're fighting each other, shooting guns, North Korea, landmines going off, shooting them up in the air. I was like, fuck yes. This is my kind of Bond movie. Then it drags ass. Then this movie absolutely, like Steven said, does not need to be as long as it is. It's over 2 hours. There's tons of spots I could cut this thing and just be like, yeah, we don't need that. You took way too long for this. But I kept finding myself having fun last night. I was actually enjoying watching the movie, even though I'm going, okay, I understand why someone wouldn't like this movie if you're a diehard Bond fan.
Yeah.
My dad watched Bond movies, but it wasn't like what we were, all about was Bond. It's like, okay, there's a new Bond out. Let's watch it. I like the Brosnan ones. But I like all the old ones, but I'm just not, I can't even remember all their names. It's like, if you spit a name out that's not like Octopus or something, I couldn't tell you the plot. But like the Brosnans, I understood, the golden eye, Tomorrow Never Dies, I think is what it is. World is Not Enough. And I watched World Is Not Enough today. I got on a kick. I was like, well, let's see if this one's bad. What were the other ones? I tell you this, the one before this ain't great either. As far as plot and everything, it's a little faster, a little, shorter. I love Zhao in this movie. When I saw that guy, that felt like a Bond villain to me. Diamonds in the side of his face, all scarred up, when he's all bald and everything, when you first show him, I'm like, this guy's cool. But I do agree with you, Sean. That's all he kind of is a cool looking villain. He doesn't really do anything.
He should have diamonds in his knuckles so that he uses that to like touch people or something. You know,
something. Also, why did you like? They never give a reason why they're left in his face. You know, it's like, wouldn't it heal if you
can you take that out?
Right? You know, here, there's McDonald's paid for today. I don't know. You know? But there were times I'm having fun with this. Rosamund Pike, gorgeous in this movie. This is like her first film.
Oh, I guess we got to delete that. I got to delete that what I made here. I started making them in anticipation. I'm just. That's
fine because I know you got another one loaded. I didn't like Halle Berry in this movie. Go ahead, Jay, man. I know you got.
No, I can't. I may have to be on your team for this one.
To me, she's kind of doing this whole thing where I didn't really like her in John Wick 3. I kind of got that same vibe in this one, and I like her, but I'm really starting to question myself. I liked her in Swordfish, and I liked her as Storm. I don't know many other movies. I mean, other than Last Boy Scout, but she dies in that thing. Almost like 5.
That was her best role.
I mean, I don't want to be mean to her, and I don't blame her for Catwoman, failing. That movie was just born to fail anyway. But I didn't care for her, and honestly, I don't understand the hype of her. She's gorgeous. She looks great in the movie, but why is she there? All she's doing is trying to kill this guy, and she's on the American side. That's really all we ever really get out of it. And to me, it's just kind of false. I think it's a problem is there's no one thing to kind of follow other than Bond in here. Rosamund Pike kind of being the triple agent, double agent, whatever you want to call it on this was okay, but it's easy to call.
Yeah, it's all predictable.
Yeah. Judi Dench is always Judi Dench to me. She has personified that role as M. She will always be M. I don't hate John Cleese, but he's not cute.
No.
But I think it's only because I grew up, watching John Cleese stuff, with the Monty Pythons and things like that. I think they did try way too hard to be like, hey, look, we got John Cleese in the movie.
Isn't this funny?
Yeah, it's cute. They named him R in the one before just because Bond made a joke. The gadgets are cool. I love the invisible car. I know the CG's a little weird, but I actually love that whole part, where he's like creeping up and all you see is the tire tracks in the snow.
And the guy driving into it and falling over and everything on the jet.
That's hilarious. Look, the stunt dudes put their bodies on the line. Like whenever those two guys get launched into the ice palace, I swear to God, they're going like Mach 2 and they're just flying across the air. But I don't know. It's not great. I understand people that don't like it. I'm watching it going, I get it. I understand.
Yeah, I get it.
But I'm having fun. I'm like, this was actually a fun ass movie. If you just don't give a shit about the character, you don't tear it apart, and you just watch it for just a high action. The Brosnans to me were always upped on the action, from what, the Connerys and the Moores and all those, they had action in them, but it's like they 90s fight them. For the Brosnans, they had to compete with the action movies we were already getting, so they had to stand out, and they do, and I think that's what I like about it, because that's kind of like my generation Bond. I was 10 in 1990, so I kind of grew up being able to watch all of these Bond movies as they came out. So I'll let somebody else go, but yeah, I didn't hate it. It's not my favorite, but I didn't hate it.
Okay, I'm just going to go through some of these comments here. Adam's commenting away here, so let's see. Look him out and Born one extremos. This movie was fun. How are you? Yes. So every Bond movie is unique. Sometimes a harsh aftertaste, but worthy to watch. Yeah. The only one that left me with a harsh aftertaste was No Time to Die, for obvious reasons. I remember the cinema was quiet, and then I heard a guy behind me go, "What the fuck? That's it?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, Bond's going to appear, right? He's going to appear, right?" And then the credits started rolling, and I was like, "Oh no, oh dear."
Yeah, it was R in the movie before.
But that's just his scope, but he is Q.
Yeah, because it's QR. Bond always made like, you're just going to go in order.
Yeah, well, Q stands for quartermaster. So
yeah, he actually
right, but he's made it's Bond's way of getting a dig in them.
Yeah, Yeah, I remember those games. Yeah, no, like that. Well, to be honest, I never found anything like boring in it. I loved the part in Cuba, just whenever he's like having the mojito, and then you got the South African guy, take him to room 42. Just love the way
I like
he said
that. I don't think there was any parts that were like what I call boring. I just feel like there's parts they could cut. You know what I mean?
But that's every Bond movie, no?
Yeah.
I mean, don't watch Living Daylights. It's like they're all like that.
Yeah. And I think that's just where they're setting a mood. You know, they don't want the fast-paced action. They want to draw it out.
Mm-hmm.
But the Brosnans, because you were going over the top, they really, like, you know, Steven said, they need to be like 100 minutes.
Those Bond elements those Bond elements look draggy because they up the action so much in those Brosnan movies.
Exactly. You get these super highs, and then you're boom down here waiting. You're still enjoying what's going on, but then you're back up. Here's action. Boom, back down. And also, you know, I didn't say it before, but a Bond movie is sometimes only as good as its villain too. Like, I need a really fucking good villain. This was not bad, but you know, it's a death ray. Okay. You know,
another death
ray, and lasers in the laboratory. You know, it's like, okay, you're literally just they're just grabbing shit and throwing it in this movie is what it feels like.
Yeah. All right, J-Man, you're not going to go last for once.
No, I'm not going to. Well, I like this movie. I liked it when I first saw it, and I haven't watched it in forever. I like every James Bond movie except for Daniel Craig. So I like all of them. I don't have a least favorite or worst.
Oh, I have one.
There's like not counting the Daniel Craig ones. I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. No. I don't. Yeah. I love all
Like, I mean, I can lump all the Daniel Craigs. Sometimes I pretend I like some parts of some of them just to annoy people or just to amuse myself. But this is a Bond movie. All of the James Bond movies are long. They're all overly long. You're like, what are you doing here? Like, move this story along. But that is what James Bond is. And 2 seconds ago, Sean and Charlie just said really all of the points, which is they're trying to stick to the old ways of, okay, it's Bond. Yeah. We have to have him investigating stuff, but also, you know, mingling with the locals, and he's got his contacts, and he's with the girls a little bit, and he goes have a drink or whatever. He's also still solving the crime. He's also still solving the mystery or whatever it is. But then we have to have this action. And because now you're in the 90s, the action can't be this realistic train fight like in From Russia with Love, where they're just bashing each other around. It needs to be cooler. Yeah. It needs to be bigger.
Yeah.
So then you're like, as a regular person's like, oh, what the heck? It's like, this is kind of boring. Oh, this action scene was awesome. That sword fight was so cool. Oh my God. And then it's like, oh, now nothing's happening. But that's what James Bond is. And I think trying to remove that in the later ones makes it worse, because you've got action, but you're replacing it with nothing. Sean said this. It's like, you didn't replace it. You're like, okay, we're not going to do this style anymore. Okay, well, what style are you going to do? Oh, no style. A non-style is not a style.
Yeah, he's just going to get drunk and cry a lot.
It's just right.
Yeah.
And see, this is what happens when you
Bond.
Right. When realistic, it's like you're making it like so realistic. But what's realistic mean? Realistic for what? Realistic for an agent, or realistic for what you think a person would do? What you would do as James Bond is not the same thing as what James Bond would do as James Bond. You're saying, oh, it's like, because you hate your job doesn't mean James Bond hates his job. But anyway, it's not. It's like it's a weaker entry, I guess. Like Halle Berry's okay. I've never really cared about Halle Berry in any movie that I've ever seen, and including X-Men. Sorry.
Well, she's not a core. That's an ensemble. She's not even a core.
Yeah. Like, I don't. She shouldn't play. I like the Mohawk girl in the other movie better.
I didn't like her.
Angela Bassett should have played Storm back in the day.
Yeah, we all thought that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like the movie. It's fine. There's some CGI that's a problem, but there's problems. There's rear screen projection that's a problem in other movies.
Yeah.
Once they I'll tell you. Once they got out of the time period of the novels and they got further away, it became less Bond as you went further away in the years.
Just more action movies, really. Then
they just became action movies, and this is why people are like, "Well, is James Bond really that cool?" I mean, I just watched, like he was saying, Adam was saying, "Oh, Triple X," or I was watching this. It's like, "Well, that was killer action." It's like it just became part of these other things. And maybe if they kept it as a period thing, it would have stood out a bit more. And it would have been cooler to see some of these guys, some of these villains reimagined as a period villain.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting.
I'd love to have seen Zhao as a period
villain
from back in there. I mean, even if the diamonds didn't do something, he needed to be sadistic. He needed to be fucking evil. You know, whether just let that be his aesthetic, but he's not in this.
He could have. I was it Owen or whoever who said, "What if there's some diamonds in his fists?" That would have been cool, right? Diamond fist or something.
You know, he puts on a diamond encrusted glove or some shit. Yeah, it's the hell out of you.
Sure, I don't know
anything, but it looks like Bond, but it doesn't have the soul of Bond in a lot of stuff in this movie.
I just think that they were trying to appease the action fans.
Yeah.
The thing is that I don't want to beat this movie up. The reason that if someone says it's the worst movie, I'll defend it because I don't want to beat up a movie that tried to deliver all of the Bond things while making it modern. They're like, we're going to try to make this modern, so give you the big high action set pieces, but we still want to keep the Bond traditions of he's going to different locations and doing cool things, and just there's a lot of times where it's like he's going and playing Baccarat, and you're like, do I give a crap about what's happening here? He's just, I do give a crap because it's James Bond being cool and doing awesome shit that I want to go to the table and put my mind up. Oh, Mr. Bond, you're here. Like when he goes to the hotel, the guy's like, Mr. Bond, he's literally showing up naked, and the guy's like, your room, it's all set for you. Here's your suits. And then it's like, I know you're running a scam here, buddy. Like, I got you. It's like,
I've known the whole time.
I've known the whole time. And it's like, and the thing is like, what does that have to do with anything? It doesn't matter. You could remove that entire thing and still have the plot go on. But it's cool to have that because it shows that Bond has his contacts, but then he's aware of what's. I just like the fact that there's this world out there that he's got all of these guys and he knows all these little nooks and crannies to go to, and he can go to them anytime. He's literally shirtless. He's got no department. M has said you're done. The 00 is revoked. He still, in 1 second, turns all this around and goes to that guy like he's James Bond in 1 minute. Now look at what happens in this movie, which go to the Daniel Craig movies. The same thing happens. He doesn't have his department with him, and it's like, oh, and this is I don't care. It's like, what the hell? This movie never lost the fact that this is still James Bond. Okay, so he's got no clothes, no money, no 00. I think the department's against him. He still turns it all around in one scene, and he's back to friggin' James Bond with the suit and everything. You're like, that's pretty cool. These guys are trying to make a cool movie. Yes, there's a lot of issues, you see the warts or whatever. I watched, and I was like, ooh, some of the CGI. It's like, this is good. I don't really care. I don't really care if it looks like crap. Yeah. What do I do? I'm watching crappy movies all the time. We're watching Your Hunter from the Future. It's like, that's a rubber dinosaur. It's awful, but I think it's great.
They didn't have $100 million though.
No, they didn't. No, that's true.
I think they had $25.
They tried to put a lot in. It's like, let's put something more in, and they try. Like, you want gadgets? Let's give you some cool stuff. Yeah. These other Daniel Craig movies are trying to remove things, not add. So I can't it's a weaker entry.
They're for people who don't like the Bond films, and it's sort of like, oh well, that's problematic. First of all, if you use the word problematic to describe anything, fuck you.
Yeah, that's a trigger. I agree. That's a trigger word right there.
Oh yeah, so it's like what was it? Some piece of shit. Oh, Collider did an article the other day about Sleepaway Camp. It said this film's problematic now because of the ending. I was like, you're a fucking dick. It's the best fucking thing about it.
The problem with it is that not everyone knows how awesome that movie is. That's the problem. Yeah. So there you go. I still like Die Another Day. Yes, it's not going to be in my top, 10, 15 or whatever. But I only tell people the ones that I really love. There's ones that I just really, really love for whatever reason. And then I like all the other ones. I don't hate any of them. And I like A View to a Kill. And I like Octopus. Octopussy is awesome.
Great.
That's a bloody awesome movie.
He's sliding down the banister shooting the gun. I'm like, that.
Oh my God.
I thought that was like a top rank one.
That was the most I need to go back Roger Moore did as James Bond. Was
people don't like it. No,
that's the problem. I was like, I'm going to have to rewatch this. What the hell is he talking about?
Yeah, that's the problem with Bond movies. It's like so many movies are listed as the worst movie, but like they're cool. There's a Bond for everyone, so it's like like even View to a Kill is cool. I'll say
of course it is.
View to a Kill drags a bit, but and the other problem too with that movie is that Christopher Walken isn't the Christopher Walken that you're used to.
I
So
know.
he's way normal
He's
in that
totally
movie.
insane in it, though. He's a great villain.
Well, he's super normal though. Like nowadays, he acts like a cartoon character. He's got the weird like tics and stuff. He doesn't do that in that movie. He's
regretted it. He's ever since View to a Kill, he's changed his acting style. He's like, I should have played a View to a Kill like this, so I'm going to be the guy I should have been in a View to Kill in every other movie that I'm in.
Everything from here to the end.
Yeah. So no, they're all except like there might be people on this panel that like Daniel Craig, but like I've never liked these movies. I think that they're really pretentious. And like before those movies, it was hard for me to say what the worst Bond movie was because they're all cool in their own way. Right?
The one where he dies in the end.
I'll say this. I watched the Daniel Craigs. I have all of them except the last one. I actually haven't watched the last one because of how Owen has been about it. What I've come to find out with the Daniel Craig ones is like what I said earlier. If it's got a good villain, I'm in. Like I like Mads Mikkelsen in Casino Royale. I actually enjoy watching that character. I like the one in Skyfall. I can never remember that guy's name. The one from yeah. I love that guy. And then Spectre, I love Batista's character is the henchman I really wanted in the Brosnan. Yeah, those freaking thumbnails and that car chase in that one. And I like the villain in Spectre. And I haven't watched anything after that. But the Daniel Craig one he just doesn't want to fucking do it anymore as Bond as a character, and it kind of kills it for you. You're just kind of like, well, he's just
if he's not interested, why should we be?
Right. And as far as I'm concerned, Quantum of Solace, I'll never watch that one again. I was like, I'll watch Cesario or something if I want this feel of a movie or some shit. This movie makes no sense. I don't like it. There's not a good villain. It's literally a part 2 to a movie that didn't need a part 2. So I was like, screw it. But Skyfall, I do enjoy watching Skyfall. I like the interaction between him and Javier, and then the other ones as far as some of the action scenes. But I'll watch the Brosnans before I'll watch the Daniel Craigs again, for sure.
I actually did enjoy the Daniel Craig movies whenever they first came out. Like I remember loving Casino Royale. I thought it was too long, and I thought most of the action scenes went on too long. Particularly, I always remember the airport scene. That just seemed to go on forever. He's like running and there's like a chase or whatever. And like, come on, this wasn't even in the book. And it just sort of was dragging out, which is a pretty small book, but generally it was pretty faithful to the book though.
The first part was, and the last
first part,
like the first hour and the last 15 minutes or something, but like
the rest just padded out too much. And it didn't need to because it just made it too long. Quantum of Solace, at least it was short.
I liked it the second time.
I didn't mind it. At least it was well paced, but it was definitely going for the Bourne.
That's why it doesn't ring as a Bond movie to me. It's like I don't even care,
Yeah, but it's just Daniel Craig just gets more and more depressed and bored as they go on. Really, you just feel like he can't be bothered. And I was like, and I have no desire to watch them again, like because of No Time to Die and how it ended. Where like he basically essentially commit suicide. He's like, I'm just not going to bother anymore. I'm just going to die. I was like, well, what's the point in watching any of these movies? Because I know by the end of the story he's going to die. And then it's the first time the Bond movies are interconnected properly as well. And this is back to you, G-Man, with like Indiana Jones. It's like, no, don't start interconnecting the story. It should just be an individual adventure. I don't need to do homework to watch one of these movies.
Yes. And that's why you can do things where you're like, I'm going to pop in Octopus. So after this stream, we talked about Octopus. I'm going to pop that in. And you don't have to feel like, oh, wait a minute, I got to remember what happened in all the other ones leading up to this.
Right.
It's like, you can have him have a wife. My favorite is On Her Majesty's. Yeah. He can have a wife, but she dies at the spoiler. She dies at the end, and that concludes it. It's not like she continued on, and then she died later. And like, well, now these three are connected. It's like it's all concluded in one movie. She's dead, so it's like it's just that one where you had a wife, and that was it.
Just
right?
the old reference. That's it. Yeah.
Oh, it's like I just watched World Is Not Enough. Has nothing that ties right back into that.
He's a bodyguard or whatever in that one.
Yeah,
right?
other than the characters. That is, Bond and M and Q, and that's the only things I need. Moneypenny. That's all I need for these movies to continue. I don't need to know there's some underlying force or group or whatever, like Spectre. That's probably the boringest part of Spectre's. Oh, there's this whole cabal that's after me, and they're doing all this stuff, and then you literally walk into the meeting going, I'm Bond, James Bond's like, I'm pretty sure they all fucking know your name because they're all looking for your ass.
You know what's going on? Spectre, the first half of Spectre is like the best Daniel Craig I think there is. The first half of Spectre has got like cool villains and like good action, and I remember that started off in Mexico with the Day of the Dead and all that.
Yeah, it was a great scene. The one take thing, I guess.
The buildings collapsing. Oh, so good.
And it's literally like there's certain movies where I don't use the term jump the shark all the time, but I can literally tell you where that movie jumps the shark. And it's when the two of them are just standing out in the desert. And I'm like, wait, what are they? I literally had a moment where I thought I'd been drugged. And I woke up like 10 hours. I'm like, wait, what happened? Why are they in the pants? Standing there? What's going on? And it's like, now Bond's betrayed, Léa Seydoux, and now he has, and now I'm like, wait, what happened? This movie was going well. Where did this go?
Yeah, they kind of ran out of ideas like halfway through it, and they just dragged it out.
Definitely feels that way.
Well, then they rip off Goldmember. It's like Goldmember is a comedy. It's like yeah. Like with
anyway, we'll go back to Die Another Day. Sorry, John. Over to you. Die Another Day.
we run on tangent. Yeah,
it's all right.
My bad.
Well, it's not, because I'm probably the most casual Bond fan of everybody that's on this panel. I've probably seen each one once, except when you're gonna laugh, because Moonraker. When I was a kid, I watched that one like 50 times because it has a space battle with lasers. I mean, like I can't. I think I didn't even realize it was a James Bond movie when I was a kid. I was just like, they're fighting with laser guns in space. I'm like, I'm watching this. So, but okay, so I saw this when it came out. Because I have, like, when I was old enough to go to the movie theaters, I saw the James Bond movies when they came out. But then I never went back to that because I like I said, I'm not a huge James Bond fan. I mean, I like him. I like the movies, for all different reasons. I'll tell you what, Pierce Brosnan's my favorite James Bond because Pierce Brosnan's my favorite because he just oozes fucking. Not that they all don't, but there's just something about him that, like, at the end when he comes into the door, when he just slumps his shoulder onto the door when he's like, "Bunny put." I'm like, I know Sean Connery was good at it, but I was like, it's Pierce Brosnan, man. It's like, and plus he brings the most physicality besides Daniel Craig. I hate Daniel Craig. He was physical as James Bond. I thought Pierce Brosnan worked the action sequences. I mean, he could have been 8711 James Bond, in terms of, and that beginning rocked. I mean, I was a martial arts movie fan, so Will Yoon Lee and Rick Yoon, having those two guys in there, I was like, because I watched it today, because I'm like, I gotta watch this movie, and I was like, oh yeah, and I'm like, and then Will Yoon Lee fighting Pierce Brosnan on the hovercraft, and they're doing karate and shit. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. And then the rest of the movie happened, and I was like, oh, okay. And then, so it's funny because, like, I could see how, like, with this movie, Pierce Brosnan hated it because they said that he didn't like this movie, and I can kind of see why, because it is over the top, and it's like him as MacGyver, like, it's like he's hanging off the jet car, right? But then he turns it into, he starts parasailing and he turns it into a snowboard, and everything. It's like MacGyver, like that's something MacGyver would do. And I was just laughing. And then you got the overtop villain, who turns out to be Will Yoon Lee, and like, oh, it's like big reveal, But it's like I expected Cobra Commander and Destro to come out and be like, rule the world, type shit, because that's how over the top it is. And but I gotta tell you, the beginning, if the rest of the movie was like the beginning, I think it would have worked better, in terms of, the action and stuff. Halle Berry, her contribution was walking out of the ocean.
Yeah,
and after that, that's. I mean, she had a pretty solid fight with Rosamund Pike. I liked how she killed her.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was pretty decent.
That was decent. Yeah.
Gustav was just like, I mean, I know he was
sneering
really,
prick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And he was just like, and I'm like, in terms of a James Bond villain, I'm like, the others put you to shame. And then he's wearing that thing at the end. It's like that RoboCop looking outfit at the end.
Oh my God. It
That
looked
was
like Captain
ridiculous.
Power all of a sudden at the end. I was like,
Captain Power. Exactly. I wasn't even thinking that at the time. And then, like, he should have had like a really good fight with Rick Yoon. And I'm like, why did that happen? And then Gustav had that silly sidekick. That guy was annoying, and he just got blown out of the window at the end. I'm like, that's fitting for that guy, because And does anybody realize that this movie was Fast and Furious before the Fast and Furious movies actually came out in terms of all the over the top action and like how many times can he get out of danger? Like it was so ridiculous.
Well, that one dude was in Fast and Furious too, so you know.
Yeah, exactly. Rick Hughes. Yeah, well, he was in the first one when it wasn't like that. So that's kind of ironic, isn't it? but like Pierce Brosnan, like definitely the best action oriented James Bond, and I can see how after this one they were like, okay, we're gonna tone it down and ground it, but they needed to find a happy medium between the Pierce Brosnan and the Daniel Craig. They went too far to one.
Yeah, they forgot to make it fun.
Exactly, and it was like Daniel, and I'm like, the Daniel Craig James Bond movies would have been better action movies if his name wasn't James Bond in them.
Yeah.
If his name was something else, you would have been like, this is a pretty good fucking action movie. But it's James Bond. You're like, where's the gadgets? You know, and like, where's the girls dropping their dresses every 5 seconds when he walks into the room? You know, so it's like they went too far that way, you know. So they needed to find that happy medium, you know, between the over top Pierce Brosnan Die Another Day and then Casino Royale, and then I still haven't seen the last one because some fucker on Facebook spoiled it for me. So I was like, you know what?
I hope it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
No. Actually,
I never put spoilers publicly.
No, actually, funny story.
This fucker.
Are we still getting angry over spoilers? Like, come on, guys! Like,
it was my best friend from elementary school. Like I was Facebook friends with him, and he was he turned into
friendship revoked.
Well, it was. I was like, it wasn't just that. He was a dick too. He turned into a dick. He was in the army and everything. Not that, you know, but I just couldn't stand him after a while. Then when he did that, I was like, you know what, fuck you, and I got rid of him. But yeah, I still haven't seen the last one, you know, because Owen's chastised it so much. It's like I don't want to watch this movie.
I haven't bought it. Like if it eventually gets to be like $5, I might buy it to add to my collection. But
exactly,
I'm
it's
not
like
gonna.
It's a terribly made movie. It's just I hate it because you killed off what was my favorite movie character, and
there was no need to do
for no reason. But that's just the thing that Hollywood's doing right now. We killed Bond, we killed Luke, we killed Han, we killed Leia. You know, it's like let's kill all of your heroes and create new ones.
But it is a bad movie, anyways. Though, like, I don't.
Yeah, let's stick up for it. Fuck this movie.
Yeah, I don't want mild passes here. Well, there's some good parts. Yeah, there's some good parts in every movie there ever was. But like, it's like it's awful. Like the storyline is nonsense.
It's boring.
It's like the guy's got flowers or something, and it's like, well, these flowers are gonna kill you. I'm like, well, do you shoot the flowers or something? Like you'd think he'd extract venom from the flowers and do so. This is like nonsense. And that Leah Seydoux, worst character in James Bond. She's brutal. It's like, ooh, and it's like, okay, so are you with her or not? Like,
the child's not yours. Then whose is it?
Then whose is it? Like, it's so stupid. And the thing is, no, it's a bad movie. Anyways, it's got some wicked action, and the car's badass. Like, they've got the Aston Martin. You just buy it on 4K if you want to, and just chapter 2. Just read the chapter titles. They have got the titles, you know, when it says action, go to that. The storyline is trash. The storyline in this movie, I completely followed. Yeah, I'm like, I understand. Why are you here? I understood, and I don't know. When I saw this movie, I don't know anything about anything politics or geographical or who. Like Steve was saying, like which Koreas against each other. Who cares? Guy has missiles. He's obviously bad. We don't want him he's going to build a laser. We don't want him to have a laser. I could care less what country has it. They can name it. They can have fake country names if they don't want to offend people, like they do in like the old pulp magazines.
I don't know. It was nice to actually see them name a country in this, unlike now where they're scared to death.
Right, they're scared to do it.
Like there was that whole comedy movie about North Korea that they were afraid was going to cause
the interview.
War.
Yeah,
the interview.
Oh, the interview was that. Did they make up a country in that?
No, they kept going. They legit. But this was so nice where it was just like, North Korea sucks and they're trying to blow up South Korea and we're intervening. Right. You know, but so it's like, okay, I understood it. I mean, my dad didn't fight in any war, but he was stationed in Korea back when I was born. So I've heard of the demilitarized zone and stuff like that. Dad's like, it's legit. You can go and you can see into North Korea and there's like nothing in between. but a highway. That's the only
Right.
thing connecting the two.
Mm.
So
I think-
I understood it, and there's not like a million landmines like they said. That's not a thing.
Right.
But
Well, I don't think they said a
cool.
million, but
I don't know. They said America, British, and
America's
everybody brought and
cultural
dumped a
contribution.
bunch of landmines.
Well, if you step on a British one, it says, "Be careful! You stepped on this. If this was real, you would be dead now. So be careful where you're walking."
Right.
And then the American one incinerates all of them if you step on one, and then the Canadian one just blows your leg off and be like, "Look, we
And apologizes for
sorry, but you did. Sorry, you did step on this. You stepped on it. It's kind of your
If
bad."
the Scots made one, it'd be "Oi, prick, pow," and it's
Wow,
good.
yeah. No, but like, there's no storyline in these other, and the new Daniel Craig ones don't have anything that you care about at all going on. It's just like, even like I don't mind Skyfall. I don't hate them, but I'm like, I can't remember anything.
Yeah,
like,
they don't have the
Me neither.
rewatchability of the old ones. I can watch
No.
any of the other Bond films. Like
Yeah.
you stick on a Connery or a Roger Moore on
Easy.
TV, I'm going to watch it.
I can watch it right now. Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
I
Any
see
of them.
Daniel Craig one. I'm like, no, I'm not meant to be.
I think Skyfall got the closest because they did try to bring in the Bond elements, like the siege on his house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
after
they
They
everyone
all
comes-
come in.
And it's
The whole thing where they caught the bad guy and he disappears under the subway and he's talking to Bond and he's like, "Well, you missed." And he goes, "Yeah, but this one won't." And a fucking subway car comes crashing.
That was cool.
That was awesome. That's what I want in these movies.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I got it,
The problem really is with the Daniel Craig movies, Daniel Craig, and Sean said it a while ago, and he's right. He's got this grumpy, constipated face on where he just physically.
He looks
does
like
not
he's
look
not
like
happy.
he
Yeah,
wants
he's
to
like
be there.
miserable. He's like,
Like,
I don't want to do this.
The man looks on the verge of crying all the time because he's in this movie and he doesn't want to be in this movie.
And
And
they
he
complained
he
about
has
it the whole
those-
time playing the role. Yeah.
But
he
he
has
did
no
so many of them.
smolder. He needs a smolder like all of the
Yeah.
other Bonds had. You know, like John was saying, when you see Pierce Brosnan, that dude, he's a good-looking dude.
He's just
Yeah.
fucking Pierce.
I admit,
he could
watching-
walk into a room and be like Brosnan,
Yes.
Pierce Brosnan. It's like,
I
yeah,
love Sean's
absolutely.
fucking picture, man. That about cracked me up.
Yeah,
I wasn't
that's awesome,
laughing at
Sean.
J-Man earlier. I was
Yeah.
laughing at the picture. I thought it was great. I do feel like after watching a couple of the earlier ones, this one he feels a little older, a little slower, you know what I mean? But he's still giving it. He's still going for it. He did some insane stunts in the one before this, the whole hot air balloon thing.
Yeah.
That jet boat thing in the world is not enough.
That's
Good
one
God.
of my favorite opening scenes
I
ever.
love
The
that
opening scene.
entire sequence. That is so badass.
And the music is awesome too.
I liked how he got captured in this one because like James
Yeah, that's a
Bond's
great
like,
opening
James
credits
Bond,
scene.
Yeah.
James Bond is like this. Nothing ever like he always freaking. He's
Right.
perfect, but here he gets captured, and he's captured for a long time because he's all
Yeah,
fucking
14
scraggly.
months.
Yeah. And I'm
But
like,
he
and I
still
was
wins in
watching,
the end.
and I was watching it
Yeah.
today, and I was like, damn. I'm like, they tarnished James Bond,
I
and then, like J-Man said, he turns it around. He's like, I'm back to who I am. It's like, but I liked how they did that, because
Yeah.
it kind of made it more realistic. Like, oh shit, he didn't get out of it, and he was just happened. They released it because they gave back.
They got Sal
Rick
back.
Rick Yune's
Yeah.
character.
I like the
So-
Madonna song a lot. This is one of my favorite songs for me. You're not a fan, Charlie. How come?
I was you stole my thunder right there because I was getting ready to say the one thing I hate about this movie is that
the
fucking
song.
open song.
No,
I
I
started
like it.
hearing it. I started hearing it going, what the fuck? Are they killing a cat? This is horrible.
Oh,
This
you didn't
dude,
hear
this
the Billie
song-
Eilish one.
Yeah.
Billie Eilish literally
That's pretty bad too.
Oh, that was the
sounds like
newest one.
she's getting murdered during the song. She sounds like
I'm glad I have it.
Sings.
I like Adele. I like Skyfall, and I like the earlier Bond songs.
I actually like Chris Cornell for Casino Royale. I like that. I like the ones
That one
whenever
was
it's kind of-
good.
Like my favorite ever Bond theme is "Live and Let Die" by
Yes.
Wings,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
for me,
yeah, that is a good.
that's fighting
Yeah.
somebody on top of a train music. I don't know why. I just always picture that, and there's a train fight in that.
It would
but,
work. I don't know. This one,
love
I did not like it. I also read that it won like a Razzie for worst Bond song
Yeah.
Oh,
in the series.
really?
Yeah.
It's got
Like,
a good
I'm
hook.
not alone in what I'm saying.
Wow.
Not to
No,
put stuff on the thing.
No,
I
it's got a
just-
good
I
hook,
didn't
but
mind
like
it.
it's stupid acid house bullcrap.
Yeah,
You know,
like it's the most dated sounding of all of them. I think.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I will say this about the film is that like it's from 2002, and you can tell it's from the early 2000s. I think the early 2000s of most eras of movies is the most dated looking now. It's funny
Yeah.
because they were
Yeah.
using like the effects and everything like that.
Yeah.
CG was in its infancy then, whatever, and they were sort of experimenting and things. And that sort of dates
And that
the
whole
movie.
ice montage,
Well,
you know, it was supposed to be the girls like dancing and shit. I'm like, this is like, you can't tell form in a lot of it. I'm just like, this is a horrible opening.
Like when the plane was on fire at the end, like, you know, in there, and I was like,
Yeah, I
you know,
did not care
Good bad guy
for
death,
the
though.
song.
He does.
Yeah.
He gets sucked into a plane engine and it's like,
well, now, yes,
I mean,
that-
And
was
thing that's
cool.
like he falls out and then that ice sculpture thing like
Yeah.
impales him too. That's
Impales
cool.
him.
yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I can't agree with you guys. I love the music in this movie, and I love most of the James Bond music. The music
the
I
Bond music's cool.
absolutely hate and do not remember at all is any of the Daniel Craigs, including Skyfall.
Me
All
neither.
of them,
Oh,
all
I
of them
remember
fall into this modern, murky, sounds the same BS that I'm like, I cannot differentiate. I can
There's
tell
no
you,
sexiness to it anymore, which is the thing,
Yeah.
because they're too scared now. It's like this is the Me
Right.
Too era Bond,
Yeah.
and I was like, in that case, don't make Bond anymore. Then, whenever
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, but Bond can't do that anymore," I was like, then don't make the film.
Then don't make it. Yeah.
Did
It's
he
like you were
do-
saying, J-Man, about Indiana Jones.
Did
Yeah,
he do
stop
the
it.
most?
It's
James
all-
Bond
all-
movies?
It's like, oh, he's not going to do this. He's not going to. Oh, then he's not going to be the character that we've fallen in love with. So don't bother doing it. Like,
Right.
the only
He
way-
doesn't use the whip. He hardly uses the whip
Yeah.
in that last. It's like he's got a whip. What the hell? Use the damn thing. He doesn't shoot anybody. He doesn't carry a gun. He goes into that thing where there's all these known gangsters, and then it's like he has no gun. You're like, okay, well, what the hell?
Harrison Ford does three things in Dial of Destiny. One, he gets kidnapped. Two, he complains. And three, he complains about being kidnapped.
Well, that's because he's old now. That's what happens. That's what my
I was
dad
gonna say.
does. My dad complains about everything. It's,
That's
It
why you
sounds
don't
like
have an
Harrison
old.
Ford, not
Yeah.
Indiana Jones. That's what
Yeah.
it
it's the
sounds like.
geriatric Indiana Jones. That's what happens. He's bitching about everything because my dad, like, God bless him, you know, since I haven't seen him since I moved down here, but like I would come over and I would just be like eye rolling. I'm like, he's 85 now, so I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, Dad. So
Well,
that's
but-
Indiana Jones now. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's like,
Get off my lawn.
Well, I'm not paying money and buying toys of your dad. So
oh no,
Like,
I
you
know
know.
that, but I'm just saying that's what
Oh,
happened
man.
to Indiana Jones in the Dial of Destiny. He
I-
became my dad.
I bet you your dad has more funnier rants than Indiana Jones does.
He does.
Because
He
Indiana
does.
Jones is ranting about things. that are-
Although Harrison Ford moves a lot better than my dad does. My
Yeah.
dad can't even walk from one room to another.
You'd think Harrison Ford would have amazing stories to tell.
Yeah.
Like, see, they never think about these. Same with James Bond. They never think about these characters. They keep saying they want to make it realistic, but they're not. Realistic would be like, oh man, if Indiana Jones is old, he must have amazing stories. He'll be like, oh, when this happened and this happened, I know Short Round, he was so great, and he's turned out to be a fine man, and
Yeah.
now his son and him are going on adventures. Like, there's no love of the thing you're doing. Like, aren't you pumped up for this crap? Like, you're making James Bond. You should be walking around saying, I'm making a James Bond movie. Yeah, like, woo, this is gonna be kick-ass, guys. Like, we're doing James Bond. It's like, no, okay, we gotta shoot this movie. Oh, how many days left in the shoot? Okay, well, we gotta get post-production, and John needs the dailies, and we gotta get the poster out. And Daniel, can you change your, like, are you pumped for making this shit or what? Like, show it to me. Show me you're excited. Die Another Day did show it to me. They tried.
Yeah, they tried something different.
They
It didn't
did.
always work,
Yeah.
but at least they tried, and it was
Yeah.
never less than fun.
Listen,
Right.
100%.
That is a perfect statement, right?
Yes.
If you're going to review, end with that.
from a casual fan, Die Another Day is the way I think James Bond should be rather than Daniel Craig's
No,
James
right.
Bond. So this way.
No.
I want gadgets, you know? And,
Yeah.
And I want to see chicks.
I
and-
smiled more during this one than any of the Daniel Craig
Oh,
ones.
I
I
cried
didn't
in
smile
Die
during
Another
any
Day
of the
ones.
Daniel Craig movies.
I had the biggest smile watching, even like I said, even though I could see the flaws, I could understand the hate, but I was still smiling, going, "Yeah,
It's cheesy.
this is
and
still
cheesy's
cool.
good
It's still
sometimes.
cheesy.
We
Yeah,
love cheesy. We love cheese. It's a
make
yeah.
Bond
Yeah.
fun
Fun
again.
again.
Hell
He's
yeah,
dead.
man.
But they're not going to, because Barbara Broccoli's in charge, and she said that with the next Bond, he needs to be more in touch with his feelings. And I'm just like,
So what was the last freaking?
yeah,
Right.
Isn't her husband turning in his grave? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
There's 5 Daniel Craig movies. Stop it.
Okay,
Yeah.
if he make the
There's
most,
5.
Did he make the most out of everybody? Is that Daniel Craig? Did he make the
no,
most?
I think it's 5.
No.
Connery did.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, do you
Wasn't
count?
Roger
Do you
Moore
count
7 or something like that?
Roger Moore is 7. Do you
7.
count Never Say Never?
6 is Connery.
Do you count Never
Oh,
Say
Roger
Never?
Moore did 7.
No.
No. If you don't
Oh,
count
okay.
Never Say
You-
Never, it's 6 and
okay.
7.
Yeah.
Because
Okay,
One
as
of the
a,
great
as
lines
a
in this
simpleton, why
movie-
are we not counting Never Say Never?
It's not part of the
It's not.
franchise. It was made by
Yeah.
another studio with the
Yeah.
script from
Thunderball.
Thunderball rearranged to get around the
Amen.
legalese. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
It's unofficial.
John, you're not the only fair weather fan.
I'll admit
here.
it. Well, I
I've
knew that
seen
though.
them a
When
little
that
bit, but I
movie
didn't
came
know
out-
that.
Because that was a big thing when that movie came out.
Yeah, was that Fox? Is it Fox? It's not MGM.
I don't
It
remember.
was
I, don't remember.
NGM.
I have it on
remember-
I have it on Blu-ray.
It was
though.
like different.
Yeah.
And like, you know.
Yeah.
They
I-
couldn't do the song. They couldn't. The guy who the law. Yeah.
The Lost Adventures of James Bond.
That's
These
a-
are like the third Dalton movie that was never made, and all these James
Yeah.
Bond movies that were nearly made but were never released. So
I love when Owen pulls a book out. It's like a giant fucking tome.
Oh yeah, I do like reading.
This is
It's
my
like-
book about Bond.
I read this last night.
The holy grail of James Bond books. It's right there.
Shakes the computer screen when he sets it down. Yeah, let me
Yeah.
read you.
Well, I do that with my McDonald's.
Yeah, right. I got my Diet Pepsi right.
I always got my drink.
I'd be like,
I remember he drank. Remember he was drinking Heineken, and I actually like Heineken, but he was drinking Heineken, and then they were like, "Oh, he's drinking beer and all that." And it's like, "Oh, big deal, he's drinking beer." Well, yeah, because he doesn't drink it.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand what you're talking
Vodka
about.
martini.
Like
She
Yeah.
cannot stir. That's what he
Yeah.
drinks.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like nonsense. It's like, oh, look, he could drink other drinks. It's like, sure, but that's not what he does. This is
that's
Again,
because
They make
they're
fun of.
they're
Yeah, they make
trying-
fun of it in Casino Royale too. The
Yeah.
guy goes, "Do you want it shaken or stirred?" He goes, "I don't care," or something like
Yeah, do I
that.
look like I could do that?
Well, and then he has to do the
Yeah.
giant fucking like do this, do that, do this. I'll have to think of a name for this, and hands
A
it
Vesper.
back to
Yeah.
him.
they're trying to make it for this generation, and this generation doesn't fucking deserve.
They don't
Yeah.
give a shit about
Yeah.
Bond. That's the problem.
No.
that's such a lie. Every time these people say this lie, it boils my blood. So we're making it for someone else. It's like they're saying that to be lazy because
Modern
people who don't know anything don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So they're not going to say,
give a
"Hey,
shit.
he's not drinking the martini. He's drinking a Heineken." Oh, in my knowledge of James Bond, you have no knowledge. The people that have no knowledge have no knowledge. They don't know. They're looking at what you present them. So if you present them all these things, they're going to walk away saying, "Oh, James Bond must not care about his job. Hates being an agent, drinks beer, right? Is a crying loser." And then they might think, "Gee, why is this character so popular? He didn't seem very cool to me." I've had so many people say, like, "Well, I watched some of these James Bond. It doesn't seem very good." It's like, well, wait, sorry. Which ones are you watching again? Like, what do you say? We're watching these. You're right, because they're not fun movies.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
Jason Bourne is like more of a mystery thing,
Mhm.
right? So it's like that's a different thing than James Bond. James Bond is we know who the villains are. The villains are characters. We're not figuring out anything.
The
We're
real
watching
villain-
him go on a mission, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and this
totally.
one, the Daniel Craig one's the real villain is himself and his self-loathing and depression. That's great. That's what I want to see.
It really is. I mean, he
Yeah.
dies and he fucks off, and they drag
Yeah.
his ass back in. And I mean, it's the one thing about it is he's a reluctant Bond agent because it's all he fucking knows. But then they had to make him an orphan. They had to be like, "Oh, we trained him to do this. We did all this to him. It's our creation." And it's like, no, just give me fucking Bond. Give it to me where I don't even give a shit that there's someone new playing the character because it's what I should be used to. Oh, it's Connery, it's Moore, it's Dalton, it's Brosnan. I don't give a shit. Bond, that is the connective tissue. And as long as they can all portray Bond, I am there for it. Daniel Craig isn't Bond.
No. And I want the gadgets. That's why
Yeah.
it's
I
like-
love the guy.
I remember they said that.
It's about the James Bond gadget.
I remember that's what annoyed me whenever I saw Skyfall the first time. Whenever that wee prick played Q.
Oh God.
And he met him, and he
Oh,
said,
it's
gadgets,
Andrew Garfield.
Are you wanting? No, it wasn't Andrew Garfield. It was
or the other one, the older guy. Because Andrew Garfield becomes.
It's going to annoy me now. God damn it!
Q. Andrew Garfield becomes Q later.
I like there to be some gadgets that could. There, yeah. I like the idea of having gadgets that could suit many purposes versus gadgets that are specifically designed for the movie because Q read the script and knew what James Bond's going to
I mean, like auto shotguns that pop up out of the
You're going to be in this situation, and you're going to need this.
Like, you're going to need this in this situation. I like one of my favorites is viewed For Your Eyes Only because there's actually less. There's less gadgets, but what's there is a bit more like actual use that you might just have on you. Like versus like, oh, I have this thing, which is going to be exactly the thing I need in this scene later. Now
it's the ring that's going to get me out of this position and blow up all the glass around me.
Yeah, but the thing is,
thank God I wore a ring.
Technology has gone on so much that there aren't any gadgets that particularly impress people anymore. Everything we do on our phone pretty much these days or whatever else. So
that's why it's got to be a period thing. You got to do it like this. You got to do it like the Spider, Operator 5, or Doc Savage. Doc Savage in the books. This is 30s. He had an LP that could record. So if you phoned him, it would record a message if he wasn't there. That's insane. Like he had an answering machine, and you're like, what the heck? Like that's pretty cool.
So that's the thing. There's all these things that you think are going to be, oh, that's too outlandish or whatever, and then within a few years, it's a reality. So it's not really that outlandish.
Right. Well, it's like his watches and stuff. Other than shooting lasers out of shit, most of what's there, communicators, stuff like that. Honestly, it's not that far-fetched. Video phone calls, ultrasonic isn't that far-fetched when you think about it.
No.
It literally comes down to rocket thrusters coming out of the back of the car or being a submarine. That's where it really gets outlandish. But by God, if I don't at least have some of that in some of my Bond movies, because I love the cars in the Bond movies. Yeah. Like if you don't have a car in those, like that's another thing with the Daniel Craig ones. The cars were there, but they weren't important.
No, they didn't.
Skyfall was the best when he got his own car out of the garage when him and them took off. That was awesome because he actually had the old gadgets, whenever everybody attacked. But they're barely in any of the other movies whatsoever. And like this one, Die Another Day, it turns invisible. It's got rockets. It's got shotguns. It's got everything he needs to get out of it. And there's more buttons. Like even like the one guy was talking about, XXX pays homage to the James Bond movies.
Yeah, that's
like his car has all the shit in it. It's like, here's your manual. Instead of blowing it up, the girl's actually sitting there reading like, okay, push this switch. It's this one. It's this. Like they understood that they were just paying a little bit of homage to, the Bond films because that's what people loved was the cars, the gadgets, the cool shit in them.
So just to let you know, Ben Winshaw was Q. I didn't see it. Andrew Garfield was never Q. It was
it was Ben Winshaw.
I thought it was Andrew Garfield. No, the young kid one.
No, believe
like bad that I don't remember Andrew Garfield.
Daniel Craig, like I literally hated Q. Every time I saw him, I would throw up. So
it's that one whenever he goes, do you want exploding toothpaste? Oh, we don't do that anymore. And it's just sort of, but this is a love letter to the Bond franchise. Really, it feels like a big fuck you to the Bond franchise, actually. To me, and I found Skyfall
looks like he's kin to Daniel Garfield. He's got that fucking face.
Maybe.
Is it bad that I don't remember Andrew Garfield was in this movie?
He's not in it. He's not in it. Charlie is bad for remembering.
This is just the ravings of a madman.
Okay, good. I was going to say, I don't remember
Find the fucking picture. I'm going to post that up later. We're going to post that damn. J-Man, why can't you post those pictures?
Because my memory's not that
because they don't exist. I'm not a magician. I can only present the facts.
Photoshop Andrew Garfield into Bond.
Yeah, I will do that.
I didn't say Photoshop. Just find the one where the fucker looks like him a little bit.
I'll put him on. I'll put him on like Moneypenny's body.
Okay.
Speaking of which,
just put him on Dixon's body. Okay, let's just take the joke full circle all the way around.
I do enjoy the gag at the end of this with the VR machine with Moneypenny, and you think, Bond and Moneypenny are finally kissing, whatever. And then I was like, I know what this is. And then of course she takes the thing off, the VR thing. I quite like that gag.
That's
what's it?
And the actress who played her was Samantha
Bond. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's the best VR technology ever, man. I'm like, wow, that looks just like real life.
It's a holodeck, man.
It's
exactly what it looks like.
That's actually probably the most ludicrous thing of the entire film.
That is the most ludicrous thing.
Or anything else.
I love at the end, like when they're having sex at the end, because that's what But all the diamonds are everywhere. I'm like, are you gonna be able to get every single diamond?
I know,
back
just a
into
couple
there?
in your pocket. Is anybody really gonna know?
Nobody,
really.
Nobody knew how many they had. Did you see them in the plane?
Yeah.
They're like falling out of crates. Like you didn't get all of them. Just keep a few.
So, am I correct in like the villain put his logo in each diamond?
Yes.
Why would he do that? Just because?
Because they were
had the money.
Conflict diamonds, and they were basically taking credit for stealing the conflict diamonds.
He had to prove they were coming out of his mine, which is where the ice palace was next to his mine. Think of it as this really convoluted money laundering scheme of conflict diamonds,
Okay.
What?
See that okay, so see that is cool because the villain has a logo that's like a diamond shaped thing.
Yeah.
And it's like he's got the Marvel method naming, he's got the Marvel naming gimmick.
Yeah,
of
the GG or whatever it was.
Like, see, that's cool. It's like, oh, is that really, would he really do that? Yes. In James Bond movie, he will do it. Like, I don't understand. Like, what movie are you watching? Somebody today told me, today I had an argument about Reacher because about Reacher season 2. They're like, oh, it got too ludicrous or whatever. It's like he's holding on to that gurney and all that. I'm like, and it was not ludicrous earlier. Like, when did it become ludicrous for you? Just so I know,
where's your line at?
Where's your line at? Like,
does everything have to be a documentary? It's like, no,
the guy's enormous, right? Like he's dodging bullets. You know he can't actually do that, and he's not fast enough. There's that guy can't even scratch his back. So he certainly can't do all this.
Fix his wound.
Yeah. It's like, stop it. It's like he's walking around and he's constantly in perfect health. He's never like he can't afford a gym. He's not working out. So how is he always looking so good? Like when you get a bit flabby after 2 years of walking around, and it's like because it's fake and it's fun. It's like stop it. Like
he does mention that he goes to gyms, though, isn't there like a
it could be,
and
he could stop and work out for a little bit.
It's Reacher rules. If you could do it, it's Reacher. Reacher could do it. It's a rule. He can do it.
It would be like them complaining in this movie with the laser scene with Halle Berry, where those lasers move so fucking fast until it's time to cut through someone, and then it's slowly going ever so painfully slow. But then when she needs it to work, there's lasers everywhere in that fight. But I'm still smiling, going, I don't give a shit. This is great.
You got to suspend disbelief with these.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna need his hand. Zip cut.
There's the fight. So they start. It starts as a what do you call it with the joust, like whatever the hell it's called.
Oh, fencing.
Fencing.
Yeah. Starts with fencing. Then they move to actual claymore swords, and
I love that.
All over the club, and they trash the club, and the guys there's like, we need a renovation anyway. It's
that guy.
That is the most relaxed property owner I've ever seen.
Well, that diamond, that Grant Ghost stuff or whatever his name is, he's like, it's like, here, come over here, buddy. Zhao, come over here. Here, take this one.
Sal, come here. That's his pocketbook walking around over there.
That was just his purse. It just walks
man purse. A new definition of man purse.
Listen,
I did like the back of the head. There's one. There's two.
At the beginning, he's on a hovercraft with an Uzi shooting mines, but yet when he's shooting them, the mines pop up and then blow up. Wouldn't they just blow up when he hits them with the machine?
No, he's hitting the side to fling them up, and then because James Bond can do that.
Sorry.
James Bond can do it.
Yeah, James Bond can do it. Like Batman can do any of these things as well.
Yeah, Batman logic. Batman can do it.
Gustav Graves. I did like Toby Stevens, who's Maggie Smith's son. I did like him in the movie, and I thought he was a great Prince John in the Robin Hood series.
I've seen him. He was in that Lost in Space series as well. Actually,
like he's that perfect. I think Charlie, you said it, is a sneering, you
He's
know,
great.
I did, yeah.
like villain. He's perfect for that thing. And I love to like he's beating the shit out of the guy in the punching bag, and he's like, "Oh, I need a new anger therapist," which sets up him to get just pissed off for no reason at James Bond during the fencing thing and just go maniacal on him. And it makes sense because they've established he's got an anger problem. He just goes all over the club with it.
And they layer on top of it with, you find out he can't sleep because of the DNA replacement in the face thing, you know. So now he's got this space age mask over his face, and he's like, you know, an hour to dream is all I need. But he's also chasing adrenaline, you know, doing all these crazy ass things, you know, with like the jet ice car and all this stuff. Like they flush out the villain pretty cool. Like, I mean, it's like I get all the layers of him. You know, it works for me. It just could have done a little bit more with others and just tightened it up a little bit is really what it could have come down to.
It's definitely of all the Pierce Brosnan movies, it's the most dated of all of them in terms of like the visuals and everything else because of the amount of like CG and everything. But I got to give props to just trying something a little different and going out there and be like, hey, you know what, it may not all work, but you know, like I said, at least it's still a fun time. You're entertained. It's escapist nonsense. I have a smile on my face at the end. It doesn't fucking have him dying at the end. So it's actually not that I'm upset about that or anything. Literally, if I ever met Daniel Craig, I'd be like, do you know that you actually killed my love of that character? You ruined that fucking character for me forever. Fuck you. That literally.
Give me your autograph.
Here's my 50. Give me your penmanship.
All he did was complain about playing the role the whole time, and then you could just feel that in the role.
Yeah, wasn't he going to be like, I don't want to do another one? Then he would do another one.
Yeah.
He was like the Brett Favre of James Bond movies. He's like, I'm going to retire. No. I'm like, what the fuck do you want?
Was that an act just to get more money for his contract?
Probably, yeah, exactly. Then they'd be like, "Here,
because he did it for every movie." They
slide it across the table, and they're like, "How about this?" He's like,
but he did it for every movie, and it made me not want to watch the movie.
Because he didn't want to do it. He just did it for the payday.
Pierce was always likable and still is. Anytime you see him interviewed or whatever else, you're like, "This guy's just Bond. I love this guy."
That's why he's my favorite.
Captures the ruthlessness of him. He's suave. He's sophisticated. Guys want to be him. Women want to be with him. Daniel Craig, I don't want to fucking be this guy. I was like, I wish I was a miserable bastard. I am. The Bond is supposed to
but
be
he's good at parkour. He's good at parkour, though.
Well, I mean, the best he ever looked was when he came out of the water in Casino Royale. Like, honestly, did they ever make him look like a cool Bond, you know, cut and ripped? No, he was always, you know, shirts on and shit, or dark, you know, so they didn't even make him look, you know, like a man's man.
He had trouble keeping that figure. That was the.
I know that.
I read that. Yeah.
I mean, I get that that's a hard thing to do, truly, but at least Brosnan didn't like to try to go fully like cut, ripped, shave every bit of hair off of him. But he just felt like a fit man's man in these movies.
Oh, here's Jimmy.
Jimmy's here.
All right, great topic. I'm a bit late here, but I have to say this is not a James Bond I particularly like. But love Brosnan as Bond. GoldenEye is my favorite Bond movie. I like him more than Craig. Oh yeah.
So you're caught up with the show,
yeah,
bud.
you just
pretty much it. Yeah.
That's what we spent an hour and 13 minutes talking about.
Generally repeating the same sentiment over and over again. That's what I've been doing anyway. So, but for me, I thought of this whenever I was watching it. James Bond stopped being interesting when David Arnold stopped doing the score, and he did the music to all of the 3 of the Pierce Brosnan movies. I remember Eric Serra did the music to GoldenEye because I remember the score to GoldenEye was the weak spot of GoldenEye. I was like, the music was crap. But when David Arnold came along, he gave it this kind of sort of modern kind of sound, but still made it sound like John Barry, which was awesome. And then he did Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, and I do actually enjoy the scores to both of them. Quantum of Solace is a cool score.
Casino's score is awesome. I do like that score.
I mean, everyone just thinks that, you know, I despise the Daniel Craig films. I was like, no, I actually do like some of them. It was just because of No Time to Die ruined them for me. But then somebody else took over, whose name I've now completely forgotten, for Skyfall, and it was okay, but it just, like the movies themselves, it just wasn't that exciting. It just lacked anything memorable. And it was just kind of a generic score still. And also the thing was, just while I'm here. Thomas Newman, thank you, Adam. It's always like the Daniel Craig movies were ashamed of using the Bond theme. And that's what I loved about the Pierce Brosnan. Like, watch Daniel Craig movies. How many times do you hear during the movie? You don't.
Almost.
You just hear it at the end.
I think you could count 3 times, if that. Because, and sometimes it's just those notes mixed in somewhere, not like the full-on song.
Because it's like, we're kind of ashamed of it being James Bond. We kind of don't really want to do that anymore.
Right.
That's why if he was somebody else, you'd be like, all right. But it's fine. And you're like,
they play it all the time in this movie.
Oh God, all through it.
Yeah,
and all the Pierce Brosnan movies, they have it all except
they're like, here comes an action scene.
And I like that they're like, I was noticing you'd hear the song, but then there's just these slight little changes depending on the movie. Like they all added their own little flair to it, but then eventually you got the Bond song that's not messed with, that's not over synthesized or mixed or done some dumb shit with it. You at least got the Bond song. I don't think they ever played the true Bond song in any of the Daniel Craig movies.
No, not really.
Nothing at the credits, nothing.
But like I said, it's like almost like they were sort of ashamed to do it. But like the score to this one's cool. I actually like the Paul Oakenfold version of the Bond theme, which he did in this. That was cool. That's used in like the opening menu on the Blu-ray and then thanks to the end credits as well. So that was cool. This is probably my least favorite of the Pierce Brosnan movies, but I still enjoy it anyway, and not in a guilty pleasure way. I don't have guilty pleasure, so if I enjoy something, I fucking enjoy it, and that's it. And I don't feel guilty about it.
Bottom line, Owen, you're going to watch this a lot more than the last one, Daniel Craig.
I mean, I'm never going to watch No Time to Die ever again. Like, why bother watching a movie whenever you know there's no hope left at the end?
Right.
No.
I'm not
hoping for a different ending. You're like, is it going to end up?
And that was the thing, like, I'm sorry, I just have to finish this now, this rant. But I remember quite enjoying No Time to Die, and I was thinking, oh, wow, I can't believe they did that. Oh, wow, I can't believe they did that. And then at the end, I was like, no, you went too far. You didn't need to do that. What you could have done is, she thought he was dead, but then at the end, you just see the Aston Martin stop. Well, she's playing with the kid in the park or whatever, and then the Aston Martin drives past, and you don't even need to see him. You just have that, and you're like, oh, he's still alive. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would have been cool.
Then it would have been a 3 out of 5.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it would have been a 3 out of 5 if it wasn't.
Because it's still boring.
Yeah,
a lot of it.
Well, I mean, they killed Bond over 5 films. They might as well just finish him off again because they literally tried to kill him. They killed everything to do with the franchise. They killed all of the excitement, all of the what made Bond a cinematic franchise.
Yeah, you don't want to be Daniel Craig's Bond, and that's the thing.
Right.
I was like, well, I want to go on this adventure. No, I already feel. Yeah.
You're going to be abused. Seriously, you're going to realize you're an alcoholic. Your body's falling apart and everything else.
I kind of like the simplicity there. There was a game just needs the convoluted room. No, you're not. You're absolutely 100% correct, Jimmy.
That's pretty much the point we've been saying is they lost the formula of the Bond movies. That's really what it comes down to.
I know what they're trying to do. They wanted to, to get away. It's like what they did with the Last Crusade or whatever. Whenever they thought the Temple of Doom was too dark, so let's make it lighter and more funny. This is sort of the opposite, where I was like, okay, that movie was too stupid. Let's do it more grounded. I
was going to say they grounded this one. The problem is they ground it into the ground.
Ground into the ground.
They needed to go like a little less with the ground.
Yeah, Indiana Jones is still Indiana Jones in Last Crusade, and he's still Indiana Jones even in Crystal Skull. In this one, it's just like Crystal Skull is just not a great movie, but this one, it's like what is this movie? Like, this isn't Indiana Jones. Like, he wouldn't say or do any of this stuff. He goes back, like, where is it? He even goes to the wrong cities or something. I don't know. I don't remember the details of it, but like, he gets a job here and there. It's like, well, why wouldn't he get a job there? Or wouldn't he now, like, just be retired or do guest spots? Like, wouldn't he be a guest speaker? And like, the class doesn't care. Like, you don't accidentally go into archaeology. Like, it's like you're taking archaeology because you care. It's like you're forced to take English and you're forced to take math or whatever it is up till whatever grade. They're all sitting there like, oh, this class sucks. It's like, I'm sorry, when was archaeology a forced subject? So why? like the people would want to be there and be excited to learn about this stuff as opposed to being bored. Like they're not even thinking like the basic shit there is. Like they're not thinking of any scene. They're just filming a scene. Okay, Indiana Jones needs to teach a class. Hey, wouldn't it be funny if no one gives a shit because he's old now? Yeah. And then someone's like, yeah, but they want to be in archaeology. It's like you're paying for university
you're paying to be bored.
Yeah, you're not paying to take a boring class. It's like right. It's like, oh yeah, oh no, nobody said that because they literally don't care. Like it's just like a checklist. Indiana Jones has to use the whip. Well, he's using it like this, right? It's a CGI whip. You know how we know that? Because it would be hitting the wall behind him.
Yeah,
the whip wouldn't work.
So
right, that was from Michael's video. He's like, if you've actually used a real whip, you need the length behind you to get a whoosh going, right? And you could tell it's CGI because his back is to the wall. It's like, well, then he wouldn't be able to whip. Who cares? They don't care. It's like he needs to use the whip. Okay, there, it's in the scene. He used the whip. There you go. I put it in there. It's good. And then some asshole's like, it's pretty good. I thought it was okay. It's fine. It's not as good as the other ones, but it's okay. It's like, okay, well then, like, fuck off. How's that sound? It's like you're not Indiana Jones fan.
So
that's not the voice Jay uses for me when he's bitching about Dixon, right? That's not like I almost feel a little offended by that, Jay. Man, I was like,
no,
is that me?
This is genuine hate.
This is genuine despising. I can't stand mild passes from people who don't know anything and aren't fans. I thought it was okay. Okay, well, I thought my kidney stone was okay. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it wasn't as bad as the first kidney stone I had. Like, what are you talking about?
Let's sum it up. The last James Bond movie and the last Indiana Jones movie suck. There you go.
Yeah. The last James Bond movie is better than the last Indiana Jones movie, though.
Well, I haven't seen the last James Bond movie.
Because at least there's still some cool action in it.
Yeah, there's some decent action scenes in it.
And it has what's her name in it? The new ballerina. What's her name? Arana.
Oh, she is awesome. Yeah. I'll give it that. When they were teaming up. Okay, Owen, I'll take that.
She should have been the bright spot.
Yeah. That's like Owen, that first bit. What you were saying, there was some cool. Like when they were teaming up, and I was like, oh, this is like pretty decent. Like you know. And then she didn't die, of course.
She doesn't appear again.
Yeah. Then she doesn't appear again.
He shakes her hand. It's like, even worse. He shakes her hand.
He
sleep with her. I'm like, what the fuck? Bond doesn't shake her hand. I was like, oh. That's the jump the shark right there. Yeah, that was right the moment. I was like, oh, I don't like where this is going.
Hello, beautiful woman. Goodbye.
Yeah. Isn't he supposed to bed her? Isn't that how the movies are supposed to go?
Not anymore.
Yeah, is it the next scene them in bed together?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Something?
He had to ask her for permission to shake her hand. Do you mind if I shake your hand goodbye?
Yeah, well, that's this society now. You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, Bond is not politically correct for this time.
There's a beautiful woman. You don't bed her. What are you guys talking about?
I'm sorry.
Betting.
That's why they shouldn't make any more Bond films, frankly, unless it's going to be set in the time period of the books. Right, here's a good one, particularly for like Sean and J-Man, because I know you've like read all the books.
Yeah.
What do you say to fans who they love the Daniel Craig movies because they love the books?
Oh, Sean, I'll let Sean take. Sean's been fighting that battle way longer than I have. I only recently started the books after Casino Royale I guess that's not recent, but Sean's been fighting this for a while.
Yeah, the Daniel Craig movies are basically based on Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, which is a short story. Casino Royale is the first book. The whole point of that book is that, yes, Bond is morose and complaining the whole time in that book. That's the point, in that he's introducing this character by putting him through the ringer, making him question why he is an agent, what the point of the whole thing is, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Other characters around him are like, what are you talking about? And he's still on this kick. Then he gets with Vesper and has a normal life, and then Vesper self deletes. I'm trying to get around the YouTube thing, and then he always knew that she was a KGB agent, but like she hid it from him. And right when he sees that she's dead, he gets angry at her that she couldn't hack it in this business. It's a very misogynistic story, and then he whips right back to proper Bond. Phones his agency and tells them, gives them a briefing of the mission, and that the lady's dead. And then now in the second one, in Live and Let Die, he's like punching guys in Shark Tanks. Like
Right.
he's Bond. In Quantum of Solace, he is at a party, he's bored, and then some guy tells him about, like, you know, he sits him down and entertains him with a story about you know, people cheating on each other and stuff. And Bond is really entertained by this and contemplates that, you know, like, that's a life that people who are in it hate, but like he would like to have a life like that because he sees all his action and adventure and bombing stuff all the time as mundanity, right? But with those two stories, Ian Fleming is just basically making a point in those. He's using that kind of Bond to illustrate points. It's not the real Bond. And that's the thing. Like, there's all the other books where he's James Bond like he is in the movies. And they just took those two stories and made 5 movies out of that version of Bond.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the proper.
All of the other movies, a lot of them are the same. Russia's pretty much the same. Friggin' Thunderball, which is my second favorite, is pretty much the same. Majesties is pretty much the same. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like these are this is the book. Like, Thunderball is the book. Like, you've read, if you watch Thunderball, you read that book. If you
because they wrote the script first and then they made the book.
That is true for that one. But Honor Majesties is pretty close. The only thing they added was having her captured, Contessa captured, to heighten the stakes, sort of, to make him want to go back and add, you know, not just get Blofeld, but also
it's part of the Blofeld trilogy in the books, which they broke up in all sorts
in the
of
movie. Yes, it's not. Yeah. So it's such a disgusting. Oh, it's not a lie, but it's like, when there's so many books, you go with the majority. Like, you can have Superman with long hair. You'd be like, that was in the comics.
I can
it's
tell
not Superman. Like, it's not the normal Superman, you know?
I can tell people haven't read the books because they'd be highly offended. It's like, they're not, like, in this day and age, like, you know, I'm fine with it because I understand the context of it.
Oh, Dr. No is fine.
Dr. No is hilarious. That's the first book I read because I thought, first movie, you know, I'll read the book. And then I realized the real continuity, and then I have to go back and, you know.
Best villain death ever is Dr. No's death in the book. 100%.
Yeah, I never remember.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me. I'm not going to say it because I forgot what it is, but I remember you telling me, and it was something wonderfully ridiculous, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've never heard anyone dying this way. I actually think it is the perfect death, because Dr. No, as good as he was in the movie, in the book, he is a complete piece of garbage. Like, soulless.
He's awesome. Soulless. He's so awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome. His death is perhaps the greatest literary death of all time.
Yeah, I don't know. The villains are super amped in these books. Like, from Russia with Love, there's no James Bond for like multiple chapters. It's all about Red Grant, that woman. Like, it's just all of the villains. The chess guy playing chess in the beginning. And it's like chapters of just that guy doing and then, like, they call the chess guy in the movie, they call him, and then he goes, and it's Smirsh or whatever. So he goes, and you're like, there's literally a chapter about that chess game, and the guy doesn't leave the chess match, and they're like, how dare you not leave? And he's like, it's like, if I would have left, that would have blown my cover because I'm a big chess guy. And you're like, okay. And Red Grant, like, he can only, you know, in the beginning where he's like all in the wet, like he's all nude and he's getting a massage. In the book, he's nude and the masseuse is nude or whatever. And he's not excited about having the massage.
Yeah.
He cannot get excited at all unless he's killing someone.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that will make him happy.
Rouse him. Yeah.
Or he's like literally dead. He's soulless and you're like, whoa. Like, I mean, From Russia with Love is a bloody awesome book, but anyways, yeah. So like the villains are better so if you like the villains in the movies, they're way better in the books because it's like chapters devoted to them.
If you've never read the books, like I do recommend them only because they're quick reads. They're not like short, super thick ass things. They're action packed. And Casino Royale is very very accurate to the book.
Yeah.
Even that torture scene is in it.
Yeah. The torture scene is like 3 chapters long in the book. I remember wow, this is just going on and on, isn't it?
It does.
It does go on and on.
Yeah. But no, I mean, like Casino Royale is a pretty faithful adaptation in that way, where it does capture like the main points of the book. And that's why I do still like it as a movie, despite what happens at the end of No Time to Die. Kind of ruins everything, goes up to that. But anyway, so back to just to wrap up the Pierce Brosnan, because it's 9:30 and we're in Canada and we'll all turn into pumpkins if we don't go soon. So Die Another Day for me, it's flawed. Like the special effects are crap, and just overuse of CGI. I don't care that it's ridiculous. I like Bond whenever it's ridiculous. Some people like it whenever it's gritty and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. I like that too. But I love Moonraker because I love Hugo Drax. He's actually probably my favorite Bond villain. I just love that. Perhaps, Mr. Bond, I could press you for a cucumber sandwich. Or Mr. Bond, you turned around with you show up with the tedious inevitability of an unloved season. I mean, it's just a great line. But I mean, I try and think what lines do I remember from the Daniel Craig movies, and I'm like, nothing at all. So, but Die Another Day. Is it bad? Maybe, but I don't hate it. It is my least favorite Pierce Brosnan movie, but it's still a lot of fun. It's a good time.
I like it.
Yeah, and despite the flaws, and at least he lives at the end. So that's lovely. Anybody else want to add anything else?
I was looking at my notes. Yeah. I just want. There is something weird with the. Remember when the father turns against the son in the end?
Yeah.
Like. It's like, oh, you've gone, like, it's almost like you've gone too far. You're too evil. I can't be associated with you now.
Yeah. You just knew that was going to happen. You're like, he's going to have to kill his dad, blah, 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 blah.
Well, it's weird because he looks at his son, and his son is this blonde, blue-eyed character now. He's like,
he's the enemy.
What have you done to yourself?
Yeah. Because he turned himself into what he was taught to hate. He was turned into the social
Western hypocrisy.
Western hypocrisy. And so, you knew the dad was going to kill him, was going to try to kill him, and then he was going to have to kill his dad. It's the ridiculousness of the suit he's wearing, like John said, that just kind of, it's a little too over the top. Yeah. This movie is just fun. It's bad, but it's fun, man. That's really all it is. It has some of the better action sequences. Aside from the boat thing in The World Is Not Enough, I actually think this movie's slightly better than The World Is Not Enough. I like the villains a little bit better. Give me the boat. The boat and the hovercrafts are kind of interchangeable for me as far as good openers. But
I found this. I do love The World Is Enough, mostly because of the music score, like David Arnold's score. That's probably my favorite ever Bond score. But I think Reynard by Robert Carlyle. I love Robert Carlyle, and he's really cool. But they don't do anything with him. Like, this guy can't feel pain, but they never do enough with it. Kind of like with Zhao. You're just like, okay, you've created this thing, but then we never really do anything. Like, he and Bond should be having this epic battle, and then they kind of don't, and it's just,
right. And then it just turns into an oil baroness who's just trying to gain everything back. I mean, she's hot in the movie, and Bond does his thing there, but he just does it so much better in this one. I think Die Another Day is better. Nobody does. Nobody does. No, but it's just good fun. I smiled the entire movie. That says a lot. There it is.
See,
that's the personification right there. That's it.
That is James Bond right there, because he likes being James Bond. Like, I love Pierce's cockiness in this. He's so confident, just the way he just like flirts with Halle Berry's Jinx and just and he's got the double entendres and everything. But she fires back at them because guess what? Women actually like flirting with guys. Sorry, Hollywood.
Yeah.
So anyway, so next week we're going to be discussing 30 Years of the Crow, which I'm really looking forward to. So that'll be a fun one. Oh, we're going to comment here. Yeah. Well, true, at least that's the way any member is supposed to end, and he killed all the bad guys and destroyed a lot of expensive. Thumbs up. Amen,
Yeah.
Bucky Gun. Yeah, exactly. It's like whenever you kill off the main character after going through a nearly 3-hour runtime, and then you leave us with absolutely fucking nothing, you're like, why did I watch that? Why am I ever going to watch this movie again? Nope.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Pierce Brosnan rules. But I tell you, like I was supposed to interview Pierce Brosnan a few weeks ago for his new film, and then like he didn't show up at the last minute, and I was like, thanks. I still prefer to Daniel Craig though. All right, so next week we're going to be discussing 30 years of The Crow. Any of you guys got anything cool coming up in your shows?
Oh man, Pete took over the show for February, so keep downloading. His first movie was awesome, Seventh Curse, badass. That's the one that comes out next week. We've already watched the second one. No,
What was it?
not HK, the Forbidden Superhero.
Oh,
Never heard of it.
Don't.
That sounds like something J-Man would love.
yeah.
He's
I gotta go.
All right. Yeah,
take off. So see you guys later.
Nice.
All right, see you, John.
Okay. Take it easy.
They had to change it to HK for the Americans because it's hentai common.
Oh,
But it's not got hentai in it. That was just it had that name first before they started using it. This movie's fucked up, man. It's not. None of you would like it, J-Man. Not even you, brother.
This is a newer movie. Yeah, nah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don't fuck with it. If you just want to listen to the pain in the movie, and we had a friend of Pete's from Australia on, so that's kind of cool to have someone halfway, the other side of the globe on the show. But yeah, the movie sucked. But please download.
well, the whole point is to hear you talk about how it sucked, right?
I mean that's the enjoyable part. Just don't watch the movie ahead of time. That's all I'm telling you.
It's all good, then it gets boring, right? You need that.
Yeah. No, you're right. We have a lot more fun when it's kind of like the me and J-Man dynamic here, where we like to poke at each other on stuff. Harem hentai. I wish it had been that. It would have been a better movie. No.
Oh, you met her husband. Nice.
That's
cool. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
Can't rain all the time.
No,
We're
exactly.
doing tomorrow. I've got an open. I'm talking about some movies coming out on a stream. It's a very casual stream, and I also have the creators of the independent comic called Atrium. They're coming on to talk a little bit about their comic. I met them at the comic show. So that'll be fun. That'll be tomorrow. And then Friday is Fearless Fridays. We're talking about Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. We're episode 3 or something like that, or 3 or 4. So Frank Miller's now writing and drawing Daredevil. So these are the exciting issues. Kingpin, Bullseye, Elektra, all that good stuff. That's all coming up in this in these next few streams. So, and then I think Monday we're back to Legion of Superheroes. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, and also check out the website, theactionlead.com, because today I posted a poll and an article: to be or not to be, does The Beekeeper deserve a sequel?
Of course.
And it's widely got a yes so far in the poll. So unless you're weird, the answer is of course yes, because we need more Statham punching people in the face always. So
I finally watched Godzilla -1. I forgot.
Oh my god!
Did you like it?
I watched it in minus color, so I watched.
Okay.
Version. Fucking spiritual movie, guys.
I know.
Watching it in black and white is the closest you will ever get to what they experienced in 1954. Right. It was amazing. Best.
So
movie
did you? I almost shed a tear, which is incredible. Did you shed one, or did you almost? Did you?
No, I shed the full ending. I took my
ending.
I took my wife. We had a good time. We drove home in silence.
Yeah.
It's just that much of a movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Who would have thought like a monster movie would be so haunting? Well written.
I know.
Have great characters.
I had heard it was great. I had heard people talk about it. Then until you watch it,
right?
And I even had some people going, "You watched it for the first time in black and white. We're jealous."
Yeah,
like
that's
they were
cool.
like, "I wish it should have come out in black and white." Like seriously, it was that fucking good.
I hope if they release it on 4K, it has the 2 versions of it.
That's what I'm hoping. Or do it like they did Fury Road and give me another release.
Yeah, the black and chrome. Yeah,
black and chrome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is there any word on when it's coming out on like physical media? I want to get.
It's still in theaters till February. It's still in theaters for another day, and then it'll.
I heard digital's supposed to be like in February or early March. Is one of the posts I've seen in one of the Godzilla groups I'm in. But that hasn't been like officially released yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just before we go, Jay, have you got the Conan 4K set yet?
It's shipped from Arrow, so I'm still waiting.
No,
I'm
trying to get at some point. It's sold out already on Amazon. I was like, oh shit, did I miss it? So I'll try getting it.
You gotta get on those pre-orders
like
when they pop.
Yeah,
it's like
that's why I did the He-Man and Tank Girl one. I was flaking on the Tank Girl, but then I was like, I'm never gonna find it or be able to want to pay what they're going to ask later. So I fucking pulled the trigger.
Yeah, I pulled the trigger too. Sean got it too. Sean pulled with me together to get the free shipping.
So, right.
It's He-Man. That's the greatest movie of all time. It's in my top 20 movie of all times.
We should do book, a poster, all kinds of cool shit in this collection.
If it came with a pin, I would be like, well, I got to get it because it's got with the pin.
Oh, well, actually, we haven't discussed He-Man before. How about the week after The Crow, we discussed the Masters of the Universe movie? And then we
could discuss the Masters of the Universe movie right now. We could discuss it right now.
Yeah, we don't even watch it.
I've memorized it.
Yeah, actually, one of my earliest memories is seeing that. So, yeah, we'll do that after The Crow. Then it's Dolph, He-Man. That's just perfect. So, yeah.
I like
it.
All right, that works for me. All right, well, one more comment here. Who's this? Dolph Lundgren. Yes, the very one, Adam.
Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that, and then I'm going to try and watch the show, which Sean highly recommended. That message with the cartoon that's on Netflix, the new one.
Yeah, I need to watch it.
It sounds horrendous, but I don't know.
I got my review coming soon, so yeah, it's a mixed bag. That's what I said before. So
okay, yeah, all right, I'll give it a watch. He-Man's in this one though, yeah.
He's in it, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
It's only like 5 episodes.
Yeah, but he cries in the first episode. It's like right away. It's like he's crying. It's like, and then Tila's not crying. She's going on an adventure. It's like, remember when He-Man went on adventures?
Yeah. She's like, He-Man, stop crying and look at my balls. Yeah.
Jesus.
That's basically what it is now. I think on that classy note, that's a good time to finish up.
I was going to say that's a great way to end the podcast, end the stream here.
We're always classy here at the Actually, and we'll see you next week to celebrate 30 years of The Crow. And if you are watching, remember, you are the Action Elite.